Hi guys, this is Chris, the Ridgeway Challenge and Ridgeway Chase race director. I am recording this ahead of the 2026 race happening on May the 30th, and this is a sort of in-depth route review, fly through, which is super useful for those particularly doing the full Ridgeway Challenge who are going to be out for a lot of the weekends. I'll say up front in terms of the navigation for the race that we do not mark this race ourselves with our own signage. It is permanently marked with the National Trail signage, which is denoted by either a signage literally saying the Ridgeway, they are everywhere, or an acorn symbol on a disc marker or just on one of the signs. That, in the most part, for I would say 95% of the route, is extremely clear and extremely obvious. There are maybe 5% of the route where it's slightly poor and could be improved. Now, in a lot of those locations, we have actually already bolstered the signage with Correc's Ridgeway signage, the same signage that is used for the full trail. We've added that in places where it's needed to ensure that people following the Ridgeway know where to go. In addition, there are also going to be on the course, in some locations, our orange arrow signs, which will help in a few locations where it is very unclear. That's very rare, but every now and again you may see an orange sign, which will also mirror the Ridgeway route and take you the right way. There is 3 separate diversions that will also be in place on the race that the people doing the full challenge need to be aware of. So all of these diversions are after the 60k mark. So those doing the Ridgeway Chase, the 60k, you are following the Ridgeway exactly to the finish point. You will, of course, divert off the Ridgeway into a campsite for the finish field, but that is very much adjacent to the finish line. So those doing the full Ridgeway, there are 3 diversions where you will leave the Ridgeway. The first 2 are to get to checkpoints, checkpoint 6 and checkpoint 8, and then the final one is to get to where the finish line is in the village of Avebury. So I'm going to go over to Google Maps here, and I'm going to just walk through the route from the start to the finish, highlighting the things that I think you guys need to know and that will help you with your navigation on the day. Really, this isn't an essential video. This is a nice to have. This is an extra information that will make your day a little bit smoother. If you don't watch this, then you will still be able to get from the start to the finish, no problem. We do also mandate, as we do on all of our ultra races, that you have to carry the GPX of the route that you can then have available either on your phone or on your navigation on your GPX watch. Okay, so let's go to the start. Here we go. Ivanhoe Beacon, start of the Ridgeway. We are at the east end of the trail here. And the first thing that you'll notice is the start of the trail is actually away from where the car parking and the registration is. And this, actually has created what is a bit of a ceremonial walk to the start, as we all do together about 15 minutes, 10 minutes before the start of the race, where we march ourselves down this trail to get to the top where the trig point is and start the race from there, all together, both races starting together at 10 a.m. You will notice here these markings A, B, C, and there are a few onwards as well. There will be marshals in these locations on the race. It helps get everyone through the first couple of miles nice and smoothly when everyone's bunched up together. And we've got lots of volunteers available from the start that can go to these locations. That won't be a feature for the rest of the race. That is really just at the start to get you through a few tricky crossings, a few tricky turns, and then you're away on this lovely section of the Ridgeway that takes us into the village of, or close to the village of Ogbourne and through past Tring train station. The first highlight I would say in terms of navigation that isn't clear, or isn't clear immediately when you're there, is when you're on Beggars Lane. So you'll have come through Tring. I say Tring. Tring actually as a village is over here. This train station area is a little bit away from it, but it'll be obvious when you get there. You'll see the train station. You'll come straight past it going down Station Road, and as you get to the end of it, you've got the canal here. This is the Grand Union, and you take a left up Beggars Lane. As you're coming up there, you do need to take immediately a right-hand turn off, and when you're on the first bit of the trail, it's not particularly obvious. As you get further up, it becomes obvious, but you are actually on a road here. There is no pavement or verge to go on, so just be a little bit careful as you're going up there. We use this trail on many of our races, never had any issues, but it's just something to be aware of when, you're not actually on a trail, you're on a road. I won't go over all the road crossings on here, but suffice to say there are lots of road crossings on the trail, and you do need to take care and attention to get over them. This one in particular, for example, over this A4251, there's a nice central reservation, but it is a fast road, and you'll see a number of those across the whole length of the route. Going into Hastow, another deviation that we make and that nearly everyone doing the National Trail makes. As you exit Tring Park, rather than going down this road, there is a trail that goes on the perimeter of this field that takes you along the trail to this junction without having to go on this quite dangerous bit of road. So the Ridgeway signings will actually put you on the road, but you'll see that everyone does go down here. Either way works, but this is much safer to take this left on that field and then take a right out of there. Running down through Hastow, which we've just used as a checkpoint for our 100k race, you're following the Ridgeway on a lovely section here, going through a few different woodlands, down on this sweeping downhill into Wendover. Wendover now becomes really the first major checkpoint of the race. Well, it is the first major checkpoint of the race, going into St Mary's Church, the first checkpoint here. In the back of the church, in the car park, we will have a marshal from the checkpoint team sending people in and out. And then as you exit the church, this is 17.6 kilometres in, by the way. You go down Heron Path. This takes you along nice little footpath, kind of to the foot of the High Street in Wendover. Take the High Street up, and you will, if you're not local to Wendover, to zoom out, you'll see this massive building works, and this is the HS2 train line that's been in development. And they've been building a tunnel that's going, the Wendover Green Tunnel it's called, that's going essentially through Wendover. And due to that, the old Ridgeway, which would go up Ellsborough Road just here, no longer exists. And there is this kind of diversion that takes you around. It's not the nicest part of the course. It's quite ugly in terms of what it looks like right now. They're really in development of it. But then you get around it to the foot of Combe Hill, and this is one of the nicest climbs of the race, up to the top of Combe Hill, where you've got a really nice viewpoint. Just a mark here, I've put the official signed Ridgeway route stays on the right and then merges with the main path around 50 metres. Much easier to stick to the clear and obvious path on the left. There's a very weird point here where the Ridgeway path, if just follow my mouse here, technically goes down there and then takes a kind of a sharp left to rejoin the trail here. This bit is by far the main trail, and there's absolutely no need to do that. It's a very odd part of the Ridgeway. It is their sign, the Ridgeway. You can do that, you can go straight on there. Either way, they take you both to the same place. Yeah, get to Combe Hill. And again, if you're not local to this area, one thing to be aware of is Chequers just here. So Chequers is the countryside residence of the Prime Minister. So while I've been living in Wendover, we've had the German Chancellor come over. We've had Trump come over. We've had all sorts of people. This trail itself is actually within the boundaries of Chequers, and when you're there, you'll notice that you have a lot of cameras on you and a lot of signage telling you to make sure you stick to the path. So I suggest you do that. The police that are situated just here, if you hesitate for more than a second to tie a shoelace, they will zoom down on their car and they'll come and ask you what the hell you're doing. Right, lovely bit of trail, a little bit hilly on this section, and then you've got a mammoth climb, for the Ridgeway at least, not for sort of, it's all relative of course, but for the Ridgeway this is one of your bigger climbs. This one here, from the bottom of the Plough Pub, which is unfortunately closed down, to the top of Whiteleaf Cross, top of Whiteleaf Hill. You then reach the top, lovely viewpoint, and you get on to the second checkpoint. Say hello to the team at Tring Running Club who take this checkpoint for us. They do a great job, and they'll get you through out of there. And that's only about 10 kilometres on actually from the previous checkpoint. You're now at about 27 odd kilometres, 27.1 I believe. As you leave Whiteleaf, You join the Upper Icknield Way here, and just a highlight, well, there's two highlights I'll say here. One, you turn left as you reach the road and you're running along the pavement on quite a fast road for a while, and then you take a right-hand turn off. And this section from here to here is all on a country lane, a very quiet lane, but you are running along a road. And you have to be very careful to make sure you get onto this diagonal trail. We probably will put an extra signage here because you're running along this road. I actually wonder if I'll show you what this looks like. So if we go to Whiteleaf Hill, so you're coming off of that, you're going down, get my bearings. So you're going up Icknield Way just here, you hit Wickham Road, there we go, you turn left, you go down here, and this is this diagonal path. So if we go to Street View, which just kind of etch this into your mind for race day. So you're here, you're taking the diagonal path through this field. You'll see that is a Ridgeway sign there. That's what you're looking out for. You see the Ridgeway that way, they're everywhere. But yeah, you're on this big main road. Don't just daydream off into the distance and keep going on Upper Icknield Way. You are going down the diagonal where that Land Rover is parked. Come through here, F, you'll see Nigel Lacey there from Tring Running Club. He will get you over the level crossing nice and safely. Few bits and pieces here, little nose, yeah, cattle often here in this hill in Lodge Hill, very friendly cattle, they're absolutely fine. And actually in this one, I think we've got sheep, yeah, so we've got sheep in that field, so say hello to the animals as you're going through there. As you kind of get through this is a little bit windy, and then when you turn onto this by Chinner, kind of going through here, this is where the Ridgeway kind of changes a bit. You've been in the Chiltern section of the Ridgeway, lots of kind of winding paths, lots of nice forests and views, and now you kind of get to more classic Ridgeway where you're on chalk path, very wide paths for quite a section here. So this is almost straight as a die now all the way to checkpoint 3. You can't really go wrong once you've got onto this bit. Checkpoint 3, Aston Nature Reserve. There's a little volunteer hut just there. That's a little good one. We've got a toilet there. Worth saying, there's a toilet at the church for checkpoint 1, but there's no toilet checkpoint 2. There is, as I said, here at Aston checkpoint 3. Now from this section, there's not actually, we get to the point now where the trail becomes a little bit simpler to navigate, and there's not so much to discuss in terms of, issues, navigational issues. See what I've said here? Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. You're on a crossroads here. You'll see there's two paths. There's one that goes into the field and then comes back out the field. There's one that goes along the main road. They both lead exactly to the same place. I think the one along the field is technically signed as the Ridgeway, but both are and both are fine. Things like this, obviously, you need to pay attention in terms of the Ridgeway signage. Obviously, we've got a very sharp turn here where you could completely carry on straight on. So that's where you really need to have your wits about you, and where the recommendation of having the GPX on your watch kind of comes in really, really handy, because it can give you those notifications. Through Swincombe Church, this is a really nice area. Again, this turning here is quite a tight one. So you go past the church, nice little sweeping downhill, and then you turn left and you're going uphill here. So yeah, have your wits about you on that turn there. So both of those really, that left and that left, are ones to watch out for. Yeah, going into Nuffield now. So we've already got to checkpoint 4. So for those doing the Ridgeway Chase 60k, you've now hit Nuffield, which is about 55 kilometres. You haven't got long to the finish. Arguably, you won't need to stop there necessarily. One thing to bear in mind with Nuffield is this road crossing just here. Very nasty, fast road crossing. It is just straight across, but you have to be very careful. Then you're going through this kind of golf course, and that brings you out onto checkpoint 4. So you pop onto the road, the checkpoint is in the church here in Nuffield in the car park. As you leave, sharp left turn, and that brings you out onto what's known as Grimm's Ditch. And now for the 60k runners, you've got a really nice winding section, quite rooty, quite technical underfoot for a little bit. But this is your last bit, really, really nice bit of trail before you get to the finish here, Ridgeway View campsite. And this is where the finish of the 60k is. Heads up, those of you who are on the full Ridgeway, you do not visit the Ridgeway View campsite, that you do not visit the finish line of the 60k. That is not a checkpoint for you. That is only a finish line for the 60s. The full challenges, you will continue straight on. This is another contentious one in terms of the navigation. What I would say here is you come out onto a road, and it's very close to quite a big roundabout. And the Ridgeway path, it doesn't go down Carmel Terrace. You have to cross the road and you continue on. This is, for some reason, it's just always a bit overgrown and not very well maintained, and it looks not particularly obvious when you're there. So yeah, have a bit of a heads up on this. It's after Nuffield, before you kind of get to where the River Thames is. River Thames just here. This kind of funny old road crossing where you just like go kind of right and then left, and then you're on this is a really nice path actually. And that kind of takes you down into North Stoke, I believe. North Stoke village here, into Little Stoke. These are all like beautiful River Thames villages, and you're actually running alongside the River Thames here, which is a really nice section of the race. And that brings you into kind of a major life base for the trail, which is our checkpoint 5. You will have hopefully dropped a bag at the start, which you now have access to at checkpoint 5. And Mike and his team, who looks after this area, this checkpoint, they'll have hot food going. And this is a real good stop to kind of stay there for a little while, get yourself refreshed before, for a lot of you, you'll be heading into the night. The checkpoint itself is off the main road, so you have to turn in left. There's normally a marshal on the outside turning you in there. Absolutely no crew to this location, please. It's a very sensitive village location, so please stay away from that. Through the village of South Stoke, out the other side and into Goring. Goring is where a lot of Centurion races happen. It's an area that'll be familiar to a lot of you. What we're allowing this year is pacers may join you, may run with you from Goring onwards. So if you want to use that, that's absolutely fine. We have sent a form around that you can tell us about that. We'll ask you at registration as well. If you're having pacers, they can't meet you on the trail before Goring. Goring is the first point they can meet you. There is a train station, there's good car parking in Goring. Worth saying, as you kind of come in and out of Goring, because it is a busy kind of town, the signage does really blend in with all the other street signage that's there. So I'll just go through what we do in Goring. Is you come down this road, maybe I'll actually start from here. You're coming down the River Thames. When you're on Cleve Road here, look out for this right-hand turn, very narrow right-hand turn off Cleve Road. And then you're following this trail that kind of meanders in and out of lots of properties. And that brings you out exactly where Goring Village Hall is, the finish of Autumn 100, Chiltern Wonderland, all of those. You're going along the two bridges, and then as you get to this junction, you're taking a right, and then you're taking this left down Wantage Road. And that's where, so this is all very kind of residential pavements and kind of, urban areas. You're then running along this road for quite a significant time. You're on tarmac for a significant time until really you get to this turning here, where we kind of turn back into classic chalk Ridgeway path. And a bit hilly at this point, but it's a really kind of flowing section, and you can definitely tick off some kilometres at this point, particularly as hopefully you're nice and refreshed from checkpoint 5. This is, as we keep going, this is where we now get to the first big diversion off the Ridgeway that you need to be aware of. Okay, so this is coming into West Ilsley. We used to have the checkpoint in West Ilsley car park. Now this car park is on the top of a hill. It has a lot of antisocial behaviour going on there in terms of people hanging out there at night. And also it's a really risky location because of poor weather conditions. And we made the decision based on the fact that most of you are getting here in darkness hours, and you haven't got an indoor location at checkpoint 7, is we really wanted to have an indoor location at checkpoint 6 to be able to really look after you, really refuel you before the long section from checkpoint 6 to checkpoint 7. So as you get to, before you go across, this is underneath a bridge here. You go underneath the bridge of the A34, underneath that, and then you're taking a left-hand turn where there'll be a clear signage, and from this point into the village hall will be signed, and then as you leave, going back out, will also be signed before you rejoin the Ridgeway. Now, as you can see, because it's kind of slightly diagonal, we don't add a huge amount of distance here, but we do add a small climb back onto the Ridgeway. So we apologise for that, but what we, the kind of negative of that is, I think, very much replaced by the fact at checkpoint 6, we've got indoor location, which will have warm food, we'll have hot water, and we'll have everything that you need. Again, though, this is a location, absolutely no crew to visit West Ilsley. Tiny village, nowhere to park, very quiet, and the village hall itself is very near residential houses. So we really need to be careful not to wake anyone up in the early hours. And I say that very seriously, because if we lose a checkpoint like this, or we upset local residents, it really jeopardises the feasibility of these sorts of races, because we'll get told next year by the village hall we can't hire it because we disrupted residents. So crews, please take those instructions very, very seriously. Now you're back up onto the Ridgeway, and really this is where you need to pay attention if you're on the full Ridgeway here, because you've got checkpoint 6 to checkpoint 7 is 21 kilometres. That is the longest stretch on the course. Now if you have crew, there are several good places that they can meet you along here. There's different car parks that they can find. Very, very much, there's no residential houses around this area, so you can find yourself a few different car parks. For example, you can pull in on the end of Manor Road just there. You can pull in at Sparsholt Firs. Apologies on the Wi-Fi here. You can pull in at a car park here. There's places that you can pull in and you can see to your runner and you can look after them. But for those that are on your own, you really need to stock up at checkpoint 6, stock up on water, stock up on fuel, and mentally prepare yourself to get to checkpoint 7. Where as you get there, checkpoint 7, 106 kilometres. You're now over the 100-kilometre mark, and you've got 30 odd kilometres to go from that point. And if it's a nice morning and the sun's rising, this is one of the best places to be on the Ridgeway, and you'll absolutely pinch yourself, and you'll get that euphoria moment of having been through the darkness hours and coming out and getting near to the finish. Water tap, yeah, there are. So you'll notice, there's not actually many. There are a few water taps that you'll find on the route. Most of them aren't in that useful locations, but yeah, there is one there that's a fairly useful location between checkpoint 7 and checkpoint 8. Now, to Foxhill. This is an important message for Foxhill. This is an area of the Ridgeway that has baffled me from day one of running this route. Foxhill is a very, very tiny area, and so you'll come off the Ridgeway, you'll join a road, and you get to a junction, and you'll look ahead of you, and you will see an absolutely mammoth-sized road with no pavement whatsoever. Now, it's a quiet road at this time of the day, but if I go to Street View, you'll kind of be a bit baffled why the Ridgeway itself, we don't want to look at the Indian restaurant, do we? You'll be a bit baffled why the Ridgeway goes along such a major road. So here we are. You're coming from this direction. Okay, so you'll be on this road. You'll have come off the trail onto this road. You'll go past the Indian restaurant on your right, and you're coming along here. Ignore this left. You're going straight on. Got a little bit of a pavement, a little bit of a verge to begin with. Then it sort of starts to disappear. And as you get up to, there's an activity centre on your right. You'll see there's a few pilgrims making their way down the Ridgeway just here. There we go. Lots of activity in the daytime on here. Lots of walkers coming down. It's fine. You've got a good verge at this point. Past the activity centre. And that's when it starts to get, yes, you've got a grassy verge, but this road feels absolutely huge. And you think, is this really the Ridgeway? And yes, it really is. So keep coming along here and really do try and stick on the verge if you can, because cars will be going fast on this road. You're now going over here, the M4. So you'll see the M4. And again, you're still on this big road. And you think, really, the Ridgeway's still on this big road? And yes, really, that is the Ridgeway path. So please, have your wits about you. Be safe here. Stick to the verge. If you're in the night, make sure your head torch is on a bright setting. And you'll keep on going along this road until you get to the junction. I'll come out of this Street View. Until you get to the junction just here. So let's go there now. You get to the junction. So you've come from that location. Look, there's a few more people puzzled. They're looking, in fact, there's a horse. We're wondering why they're having to go down such a major road. At this point, you turn left and you go along this bit, and then up here you turn right, and you are back on the proper nice Ridgeway paths again. Okay, so yeah, be aware of that. Here we go. Here's the turning off, and there is a Ridgeway sign there, the Ridgeway. Okay. It's a terrible part. I've talked many times to the Ridgeway National Trail officer about this, and there is a potential diversion, but it would add a significant amount of distance to the route. And it is fine to keep safe in terms of the amount of traffic on there, but I think, yeah, it just puzzles you if you've been there for the first time. You think, this is a trail running race, and I'm running along quite a major road at this point. So that's all I'll say on that section, but yeah, do be aware of that. Right, so that's all of this section. I'll just follow my mouse down there. Let's say at that junction you turn left and then you're back onto the path. And there's some really nice trail here now. You soon forget about this nasty bit. This brings you into Ogbourne. This is where you now have a second diversion. Again, this is because we really wanted to have an indoor location for a checkpoint. So you're along the Ridgeway until you get to this point here where the Ridgeway goes straight on, and we're going to take runners off turning right, and you take the path down into the village of Ogbourne. It will be signed without orange markers and orange arrows. A lot of you now, well, you will have all been running to get here. You will have run to get to checkpoint for 124 kilometres. And I remember looking at the tracking data last year, and even though this was signed, a lot of people got a little bit confused where to go. So it might be worth just scouting this out on Google Maps and having a good picture in your head as to what you do when you get to Ogbourne. You come down these trails, you join this little road, you get to here, you turn left, you navigate your way onto the high street, going down, and the checkpoint's on your right. Again, I'm going to stress, no crews in this location. We've got runners coming into here all through the night, and we've got lots of people who'll be fast asleep. And, you know, I wouldn't even park your vehicle, 500 metres from the checkpoint. Just stay clear of Ogbourne. Go to somewhere in a quieter location in the middle of the night. Don't upset local residents. There's plenty of little car parks along the route. You don't need to do that. You can go somewhere else. So please respect those residents. Keep that checkpoint. Keep everyone happy, and we'll continue to use that year after year. As you leave checkpoint 8, you're along the road, and then when you rejoin up here, this is the Ridgeway path where my mouse is following here. So you rejoin. As you go around that corner, you're now on the Ridgeway. You take a left-hand turn. I've got an eye there because there's a trail that runs along the bottom here. The Ridgeway goes through the fields. I actually personally fixed some signage there about a year ago, which I'm hoping is maintained. But there wasn't a sign on there before. So you're going through the fields. Really nice section, but it is a little bit uphill here. You're in kind of very much horse riding country. You see Alan King racing, you've got Neil King racing, loads and loads of stables around here. Sometimes they're out on the gallops, which looks pretty cool. Not going to say anything really about this until really you get to this point, where this is the best moment in the race, in the sense that once you get to here, final deviation, be a big old sign pointing you into Avebury, and you've just got a short stretch now into Avebury and into the finish. The official Ridgeway path goes down here and ends at the end where that road joins. There's nothing really there other than a few people sitting in their camper vans who like to do that. But there's no infrastructure. There's nothing that allows us to be able to have a finish at the official end of the Ridgeway. What we suggest is those that finish and stay overnight anywhere near, go and do that the following morning, that last kilometre, bit of a pilgrimage to go and see the end of the Ridgeway, where you'll realise there's nothing. There's not even a sign that says it's the end of the Ridgeway, I don't think. You'll come into Avebury. This is where the stone circle is. It's such a cool place. Coming down this road, you'll see the Red Lion pub. Go across this road, you see the Red Lion pub on your right. Go down this little high street road, and then we're going to have a marshal there turning you off left, and you will go into this cricket ground, and the finish line is on the grass here next to the clubhouse, where you can relax knowing that you've just completed the entire Ridgeway National Trail 140k. All right, so that is the race. As I say, we're not going to sign much of it because of that permanent Ridgeway signage, and most of it is fantastic. A few of those tight corners you might see an extra orange sign added, but get the route on your watch. If you go to the Runaway Racing website, go to the Ridgeway Challenge page. You can also do this for the 60k. Scroll down, GPX file there, OS Maps link there, and the Google map that I've been looking at here. Have a look at that, study it, get plans so that you can have a smooth race day. All right? So nice one, guys. If you're racing in 2026, we'll see you on the start line on the 30th of May, 10 a.m. All right, let's do this.